Today on the Name a Better Duo podcast, we have Gelisa. Gelisa is a wellness practitioner who started her yoga journey in 2012 and is now a yoga teacher. She instantly saw the physical results of taking classes, but it wasn't until she started consistently taking class at SEY in 2017 that she discovered all that yoga encompasses. Struggling with the woes of being a traveling consultant and navigating the corporate world, Gelisa began to seek ways to decrease her stress and anxiety. She turned to meditation. Through meditation, Gelisa experienced a deeper connection to herself, greater inner peace, and a balanced life. After practicing various forms of meditation, she decided to take her practice a step further by attending the Jivana Meditation Teacher Training in 2018. Flowing with Gelisa, you can expect to experience postures in a way that feel good to your body while vibing out to music that speaks to the soul. You'll leave each class ready to take on the world with love. In addition to yoga and meditation, Gelisa is a journaling enthusiast who loves to guide others in their healing journey through writing your words your way. Welcome, Gelisa.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. I was a little nervous just because you never know. Like, I'm like, what am I going to be asked? What are we going to be talking about? I kind of know we're going to be talking about, but I was just like, oh, what am I going to say?
No,
I'm super excited. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to have you. I know this conversation is going to be good. We were just sitting here reminiscing before we got on here about sixth grade. We've known each other for a long time. Sixth grade, I had a birthday party, a sleepover, and we were dancing to No Scrubs, TLC.
Yep, Fan Mail had just came out. That's how old we are.
That's how far, look, let's not date ourselves, but that's how far back we go. So this is just a good reunion and a fun time to talk about what you're doing now. And I'm so excited to see the things that you're doing now. But the people want to know first. Okay. Before we get started with the questions, we like to play a game called The People Want to Know, so they can get to know you a little bit outside of the conversation that we're going to dive into. So the first thing, Gelisa, that the people want to know, if you could hear any song for the first time, you know that one song that when you first heard it, you were like, this is my jam. What would that song be?
Oh, I'm such an old lady. So don't laugh at me, but Always and Forever by Heatwave. Like, yes. I remember being a little kid and hearing it. Don't show on Nick at Night, you be sleeping in the middle of the night, be playing those little CD commercials
yes.
Yeah, so when I first, I was just like, oh my goodness. As a kid, I was like, this is how I know I was old so young, because
yes,
come on,
that's my song, right? No, now look, you're dating us again, because them CDs, them late night CDs, I used to be like, I need that. Let me order $12.99, however much it was, plus shipment.
We knew what they were talking about.
Didn't have a clue. I love that. That's a good one. Okay, so the next thing that people want to know, Gelisa, who or what do you go to for a pick-me-up?
Other than yoga and meditation, if I'm in the house and I'm kind of feeling down, or I feel like my energy is low, I go to comedy. I watch a stand-up or just an old movie, like a Low Down Dirty Shame, or something random that makes me laugh, like Martin.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. I'll just watch it over, and it usually picks me up every time.
I love it because I do the same. Honestly, in some of my lowest moments, I go to stand-up comedy or a funny movie. And it's funny you bring up Low Down Dirty Shame, because I just did a TikTok of that with Crazy Jada and that little.
Oh, I gotta go watch that.
Oh my goodness, she was hilarious in that movie. So that's good. I love that. Okay, last thing that people want to know: what items do you never leave the house without?
My AirPods and my phone. Because at any time I might need to hear something, like some music, a melody, something going on to calm me down, or you never know when you need it.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. That's a good combo. I hate when I get to the gym and I don't have my AirPods. It's just ruins the whole workout for me.
I gotta go back home. I can't work out. I need.
But listen, I always keep the ones with the cord in my car, so then I have to wear those and try to work it. It's just not the same. It's not the same, but I do have a backup just in case. All right, well, let's hop into the people got to know you. Okay. But now we're going to talk a little bit about your profession of yoga. First thing I want to ask is, how has yoga changed your life?
Man, that's very loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Because while I do yoga as a professional, but I'm also a consultant too. So,
Okay.
and that's kind of how it started. I know we'll get there, but that's kind of how it started. But it's really changed the way I think about things, the way I see myself, the way I see the people around me, the way I see life. I have an affirmation that I use. It says, I'm aware of the things that require my patience versus the things that require my release. And
Ooh,
that's what yoga has done for me. That's
that's
how it's changed my life.
I'm about to write that down. That is so good. That is words to live by, honestly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
work patience is something I've been working on because I'm realizing I didn't have a whole lot of it. I I'll be completely transparent. So, I lived by myself for a long time and I just moved back home recently. And so I'm around family all the time. I'm around just different ways of life, living life,
Yeah.
different lifestyle, and I realized, if I say like, one of my aspirations is to have a family of my own, I have to develop some patience. Everything's
Yeah.
not going to be your way. Everybody doesn't do things your way. And so that's words to live by. I love that.
I can definitely relate in the being by yourself for a while because it's just
Mhm,
like you're used to things kind of just being this
mhm,
way, and then when other people kind of come to your space, it kind of rattles it, right? It
mhm.
disturbs. It's just like no, 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 that's not supposed to be right there. No, no, no,
Right,
don't do that. It's like
right.
we don't have no control. Relax, and you kind of tell yourself that like
Yeah.
relax.
Because your way isn't the only way. And like honestly, I'm like, why would you do it? Like this makes sense. Like, why would you do things this way? But your way isn't the only way, and you cannot control every. It's a good method for life. Like you can't control every situation. There's some things that are totally, completely out of your control, and that's where that release comes in. So I love that. I love that. So you started to tell us a little bit. How did your yoga journey begin?
So yoga, I guess, like kind of when I was younger, like you would see like the little DVDs, like sorry if I offend anybody, but like the white skinny women on the DVDs, kind of just doing yoga. I'm thinking, oh, it's just a stretch and exercise, right?
Yeah.
But in 2012, I had a friend, Tanisha Ponder, who got their yoga certification, teaching certification, and she started teaching. And at first, I was just going to support. It's my friend. She's doing something new. I want to see what it's about. But then, as I was in class, I kind of started seeing like the physical piece of it and kind of what it did to my body, like from the beginning of class to the end of class, and from week to week after I kept going. I was just like, oh, this is nice. Like my arms are toned. Like I just started seeing like those physical aspects of the yoga. But it wasn't until 2017 at my place of employment, it was stressing me out. I began traveling, so it would kind of be like on Sunday night I would get on the airplane, go to wherever I had to go to. On Thursday night I would get back on that plane and go back home, and the stress of only getting to see the people that I care about and love on the weekends and
Mhm.
having to do everything on the weekends, it just became very, very stressful.
Yeah.
Um, so at first I didn't necessarily turn to quote unquote yoga, but I turned to meditation.
Okay.
And that's really what kicked off I guess what I would say my asana practice, because yoga is like an 8 limb path. So it's like several things in it, which we
Okay.
can talk about. But
Mhm.
one of the things is meditation. And that's the piece that where I started. And then I moved into the piece called asana, which is the postures. That's what people are typically doing. And that's what people typically relate to being yoga solely,
Okay.
is
Okay.
that movement that you see, or those postures that you see people doing. So yeah, just the stress of work literally is what brought me to yoga. I mean, and then I started seeing all of the other aspects that yoga had to offer,
Mhm.
and how it wasn't just this asana practice or just this posture practice. It was this self exploration practice that
Mm.
helped me to see myself and to see other people kind of just for what it is, without kind of like a lot of judgment and a lot of attachment. I know
Yeah.
it's kind of like a long way around it, but
No, I love that. And you said it's what is the terminology for the type of practice with the meditation?
okay, so meditation is just typically meditation or dhyana. So it's called so within yoga, start from there. There's an 8 limb path. There's the yamas, the niyamas. So the yamas are kind of what we're talking about, like some of the restraints in life. So it would be something like nonviolence. And that's the first principle of that. And with nonviolence, we're not just talking about like physical harm. We're talking about like mental harm, emotional harm, not only to like other people, but to ourselves. Like when we're talking negatively on
Yeah,
ourselves, that's violence.
absolutely.
That's suffering. Like,
Mhm.
so things like that. What else? Trying truthfulness, just being honest, just speaking your truth and not being nasty in it, but being kind in it. Not avoiding conversations and things like that, but just being genuinely yourself, being standing in your truth.
Yeah.
There's not stealing, and that's not like I'm stealing a plant behind you, that beautiful plant behind you, because I love plants.
Mhm.
We're not talking about that type of stealing. We're talking about stealing energy, stealing time, like for your once again for other people, for
Right.
yourself. Like there's so many things in it, but I'll keep going. So the niyamas, which are kind of like our positive duties are like the observances, so like the cleanliness, like coming to things with pure mind, pure attitude, pure actions, surrendering to God's will, or surrendering to the universe, or surrendering to life, self-study. And then there's the asanas, which is what we were talking about, the postures and what people typically correlate to being just yoga, is that movement of the body. And then we have pranayama, which is one of my favorites too, which is that breath work, breathing. So that is all yoga, right? The pratyahara, which is the sense of withdrawal, the dharana, the just being able to focus and concentrate on something. Then there's meditation, the dhyana, and then the highest one is bliss. And right, that's what we're all trying to achieve, this place of enlightenment, this place of bliss, which is samadhi. So that's the 8-1 path, and that is yoga. Like all of those things are yoga.
I love that you provided that breakdown, because I think a lot of people hear yoga and they just think uncomfortable stretches.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
all they think about. But how important is it for you to, like, because there's levels to it. Like those are like, it's like you graduate from one level to the next with
Yeah.
that breakdown. Like how important is it to kind of go on that journey or that exploration of, like, and how do you, because I know for me, sometimes I just want to stretch, so I'll throw on a yoga video on YouTube. But like, how do you get to that point where you're like learning all the levels? Like, is that something that you have to like take classes for? Like, what is that process?
I say it's a practice. So it's kind of an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Classes are great because you can be led by people who know how to lead in a way that's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not a step-by-step thing. It's kind of like a all-encompassing thing, and a one day at a time thing, not like oh, I need to be able to do all these things at once, right? Like it's just day by day. Like maybe today I focus on breath all day. Like maybe today my point is to anytime I feel like I'm flustered, I'm just gonna breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You've done yoga for the day.
Okay. Okay. So they're all components of
They're
yoga.
all components of yoga.
I love that you brought that up with the breath work, because I was telling you, like, that's something that I just recently started doing, and I noticed the release in that. I say this often, like, you don't realize how many times throughout the day you just subconsciously take a sigh, like, like I think your body knows to naturally do that to release the just built up stress.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
energy, let that out.
exactly, exactly. So I think that it's so important that you find those practices, and it may not be all of them, it might just be certain parts that your body responds positively to. But I know for me that breath work is very, very important, and it's helped me a lot with, just dealing with anxiety and, becoming overwhelmed. And like, I think that we as a people who are so often on the go ignore those feelings,
Yeah.
and those experiences. And your body will at some point make you respond, even if it is just with a sigh of relief. So
That's a
I
fact.
think that breath work is so, so very important. What would you say to people who do look at yoga as just like, you know what, I'm not flexible enough for that. That's all it is. Like, how would you respond to those people?
Typically, because you get that all the time, like, I'm not flexible enough to go to yoga. And it's like, that's exactly why you should come.
Exactly, right.
That's one of the benefits to it too. Especially like I said, the asana, the posture part is that flexibility. If that's something that you know that you're not and you need to be a little bit more limber, or
Mhm,
you can't necessarily bend over without aches and pains,
mhm.
you definitely should be seeing about doing some of those postures because they definitely help relieve the stress in the body, that dis-ease, because dis-ease literally all in the body from being all that tension we hold. Like we were just talking about the breath and how something as simple as a sigh releases a little tension. Sometimes our breath is so shallow, we don't even realize it. We got elevated stress levels, so much tension in the body, imbalances, and it's just like, what's really going on here? And
Yeah.
when you go to a yoga class, there's automatically typically that breath work, that breath component in it, the physical component where you're able to move your body, where you're able to connect the two and
Mhm,
get some actual relief and release from your body
mhm.
and your mind at the same time. It's like a two for one.
Yeah, yeah. I know you also lead sound baths.
Yeah.
What is that? Does that fall under yoga or is that a totally separate practice? How does that work?
I don't know if that counts like as like yoga. I guess it could because it's meditation. Technically, sound bath is a form of meditation. So yeah, I guess
Okay.
that technically is the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that it falls under it. Yeah, I love sound bath. Sound bath. Everyone gets a different experience.
Mm.
Like after I do, because I do it every other Sunday, and every time I teach, someone comes up to me and tells me like a different experience that they've had. I've had people tell me, of course, the things like, "Oh, I fell asleep." Sometimes there's people snoring in the class, and it kind of disrupts other people a little bit. But
Mhm.
they're so that's how relaxed they are to be in a studio and to just literally go to sleep.
Right.
You're yeah, like so. I've had people say that. I had people say that they've seen meadows. I've had recently someone said that it felt like they were on Star Trek.
Okay.
It just took them to another place and they had a few visions, like they received messages. I've gotten so many responses to sound bath.
Mhm. With that, let's go into the spiritual aspect of those practices. Like how do you relate to yoga, sound baths on a spiritual level, and how do you respond to those who may have a, you know, just look at it in a negative light, whereas they're like, what am I doing here? It's new for a lot of people. How do you respond to that?
I guess some people typically, I guess as we're going in line with this, but a lot of people relate it to maybe it being like a religious based
Mhm,
practice.
mhm,
And while religions can use it, different religions, and they can use it for different spiritual practices, but it's just that it's a practice, right? So every day we're practicing. Every day we wake up, we're blessed to see another day. We get to practice all over again. That other opportunity to keep doing it over and over and over again. So I would say open your mind a little bit, and just kind of see, kind of, I guess, unlearn the things that you think you know,
mhm.
because the smartest person knows that they don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess I would, yeah, I guess does that answer it? Like, I'm
That
like,
completely answers it. I think that
yeah,
we do learn a lot of traditions. I feel like
yeah,
a lot of religions are built on traditions, and
it's nothing
there
wrong
can
with
be,
that.
yeah, there can be religious traditions, cultural traditions, just certain
Yeah,
things that we are brought up to believe. But I think that one of the things that comes with adulthood is, learning yourself and what you believe and what practices you
yeah.
want to
And
implement
what works for you?
and what works for you. And also a big part of it is where your heart is and what you're doing.
Your
Like
intention for it,
what's
right?
your intention?
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Is your, are you what are you choosing to worship or what are you choosing to make
yes,
your,
exactly.
focus or your God or whatever. So I think that that's where a lot of that comes in. But if you are finding, I think that people are nowadays, not everyone, but a lot of people are starting to be more open
Yeah.
because there was a time, growing up as a Christian that you don't do therapy, you don't,
Don't
seek
do a lot of things.
yeah, you don't seek outside counseling, you don't do those things, you go to the Lord, But it's like sometimes
Two
I
things
need
can be true.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I can go to the Lord and I can go to my therapist because this therapist has some tools and some practical tools that I may not know. So I think that, I love that people are starting to be more self-aware and trying to get to their best selves and realizing that it does take help. When we say it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to just go through life,
To raise
okay?
me, to raise
You
us.
know, like it really does. You need, I know for me, like therapy has been a big help. Exercising to me can be
Yes.
a practice,
It is a
you can
practice.
you can
Yeah.
look at it as a spiritual practice because I know the endorphins that I release when I exercise helps me be a better person. And I feel that's the same way when it comes to yoga and all the other, whatever practice that someone may choose. It's all about your intention.
All about your intention. I totally agree with that. You can use it if you have a specific religious background or whatever however you see it, you can still do both. Like we were just saying, two things can be true. You can do both. Like it's just your intention behind it.
Yeah.
You can meditate, do yoga. I mean, prayer is talking to God. Meditations, listen, you gotta shut up to hear what you receiving.
That part.
You gotta be still.
Yeah.
You gotta breathe
Yeah.
to know, to even hear. Like you were talking earlier, we're so going here, going there, in a rush, doing this, doing that. Most of us don't even take time to stop and just be still, to
Mhm.
breathe, to figure out whether our breath is shallow or not, whether our shoulders are up here in our ears and we need to bring them down, when we need to unclench the jaw, just
Yeah.
relax the face,
Mhm.
because we're moving so quickly.
We're
We
moving
can't
so
even stop. And I think that's what yoga and meditation does, right? It gives you that opportunity to kind of, if you want to put it in this term, hear what God has to say.
Mhm.
You shut up and you listen.
Okay. And like even with that example, like how many times if you've ever had a physical trainer, like you think you're mimicking what they're doing and they're not, no, release your shoulders, stretch do whatever. You
Yeah.
don't even see those things that you're doing is what I'm saying. And sometimes you need that other voice to kind of see you because we don't see ourselves. We're the only person that never sees ourselves. All we see is
Yeah.
the reflection in the
Oh,
mirror.
that's right.
Sometimes we need that other set of eyes or that other sounding board to be able to see ourselves and realize, listen, I am holding on to this trauma from when I was 6 years old and don't even realize it,
Uh-huh.
like something that big can be it can stunt your growth. So it's important if we want to get to our best selves to kind of notice that and implement new practices. You mentioned that you are a consultant professionally. Talk a little bit about that and how, your yoga has, helped that as well.
So yes, I am an ERP. It's like I never know how to explain what I do. But don't you know, like, I don't know if you ever heard like a human resource information system. So I am a consultant for that. If you
Okay.
have a human resource department and you do like a timesheet online, or you do your what is it, your absence requests online and all of that, I will be the person to implement that into your system and give you a business process around how to do that effectively.
Okay.
So that's what I do during the day.
Mhm.
And it's stressful because it's tech, it's IT, right? It's very demanding of your time. I work a lot of hours. So even being able to implement this for me has been such a big help because I've learned the better time management, knowing how to say no,
Mm.
be a complete sentence. Like, I know I work here. This is my place of employment, and I'm super grateful for it. But in order for me to function at my highest capacity or at my best level as my best self, I got to put some boundaries around some things.
That
Sometimes that
part.
includes my time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. I love that you brought up that word boundaries because that is something that I am learning in every aspect of life, professionally,
mhm.
personally. Like you really have to learn. A lot of the times that we get stressed out is because we haven't set boundaries. It's because we've said yes to people when we should have said no. you know, and we take on more than we even are created to chew. So I think setting boundaries is such a healthy, necessary practice that everyone should use, you know.
I've had people sometimes be like, you are very, I don't know, strict with your boundaries. And I'm just like, that's where my peace is. Like, I can't let you take my, like, if I don't have nothing else, I got my peace. That's something I always tell my class, like, that's something no one can take from you. No one can borrow it from you. Like, your peace, that's
Mhm.
all you.
That's you. That's you. You have control. And what we have to realize, like even when you talk about setting boundaries at work, like you they will let you go and tell you to leave that same day, you know, where we'll have to give 2 weeks notice, you know. We have to ask for permission to go on vacation or take some time off.
Yeah.
Like I am just, you know, it's so important to me that we learn to love and respect ourselves and know our worth and our value, even in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because we sometimes we can live in fear. I should be grateful to have a job. Yes, be grateful. However, know your worth and know your value and know what you bring your company and know and realize that they will not give you that same amount of respect if they wanted to. If that company shut down today, it shut down today. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that.
That is fact. That is fact. And that's why my next venture in my life and my careers in life is going to be creating something for that, exactly that workplace wellness, because I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to show people how that peace can feel like for them too. Because it's not like, not saying like everyone's gonna like leave their job and become an entrepreneur or anything like that, but because that might not be the story for everybody, but for the story for the people who are needing to still work and provide and do basically what they have to do to survive every day, there's got to be a better way for them to be able to show up at work. So it's not even just a benefit to the employee, it's definitely a benefit to the employer, because if you have employees who are at peace, it's not gonna, like, the morale is automatically gonna be up. You know what I mean? Like, or if you're showing that your employees that you actually care about their well-being, that you truly care about their work-life balance, and it's not just a line on your website. You know what I mean? You're actually showing them that you really care by providing something for them to relieve any stress that they have, and not just work stress, for their home stress. So when they come to work, like I said, they can show up as their best selves.
Yeah.
More productivity, a boost in morale. I mean, that's what they want at the end of the day, because they thinking about their bottom line. But you got to start with your resources.
Exactly.
You
I
got to
think
take care of your resources.
if more employers invested in their employees, I believe they would see more retention, they would see more, you know,
Yeah.
productivity. Like it, you really are, the investment is worth it. And I think that is something that you offer as well. You provide that service, like teaching.
Not yet. I'm working,
Okay.
cooking right now.
Yeah, because I think that is something that's so
Yeah.
important, you know, and I hope that more employers will take advantage of those type of opportunities because, you know, that was something that I always did on every job that I've worked at. I've always did like a little 3 p.m. pick me up where I'll get everybody up and moving, you know, because I think that sitting in front of a computer all day or whatever you may do, standing in a factory, whatever, all day, like it can get very monotonous and you can find yourself in that place of you can find yourself very unhappy, you know. But if you can get up and move, like our body needs it, it requires it. I think that motivates you to okay, get back to work for the rest of the day. But employers have to be open and willing to provide those services. It's so necessary. So let's kind of move on to journaling because that's a practice as well that you are very passionate about. How did you get into that and how do you do that?
Yes, I like to call myself a journaling enthusiast.
Mm.
I love journaling. So I mean, I've been journaling since, a kid, like Dear Diary, all of that good stuff. I fell off, I feel like, once I went to college,
Yeah.
like, and I was like, that's when I really should have been writing and
Okay.
recording everything
Mhm.
that happened. But I fell off definitely. And it wasn't until adulthood. when I ran into like a little rough patch emotionally, and all that stress happened, that I kind of, during my meditation, I kind of turned back to that journaling aspect. And it's been saving and changing my life ever since. And I know some people sometimes think of it like as this daunting task, like, I can't journal, I don't got no time and all of this. But I see journaling as something as simple as picking up my phone and in my notes, when things start coming in my head or the same thought starts coming in my
Yeah,
head, to just get it out.
that's good.
You know what I mean? Like, not holding, literally, that's how I see journal, just get it out on paper. I do provide like writing prompts like on my IG page and stuff like that. That's to help guide people sometimes. But at the point I am, like in my personal practice, life is life. And so I can't keep it in my mind. I can't keep it in my body, that stress in your
Yeah.
body. You got to find a way to release it. So if I'm not breathing one day, or yoga, the asana practice of yoga one day, or meditating, like journaling is a great practice to have as well, because you're getting it out, you're getting that energy out of your system and down on paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And things start working too when you put stuff on paper. Like, I kind of fell off a little bit, I'll be honest. But I started in the beginning of the year, every morning writing just affirmations. And like, I just noticed how it just changed my day. Cause I would hold whatever I wrote down like throughout the day. So when anytime something came, I remembered it because I wrote it. I just didn't think it and forgot it. I had actually took it from my mind, wrote it down, said it to myself, and then throughout the day I remembered it. That's all through writing. That's the power of writing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm even thinking right now while you're saying that, like, I could just write on a sticky note and put it on my plan so
Same.
I see it throughout the day. Because a lot of time we do forget things, or it goes to the back of our mind. But like to see it, to write it down and to see it, and that's what journaling is all about: is seeing it. Like it's a form of manifestation.
Manifestation.
By thinking it, believing it, and seeing it. And you'd be surprised. Like I have a little box of just little notes that I've written of things that I desire. And going back, even over the years, I'm like, whoa, that happened.
Whoa, that
That
happened.
happened. And some things haven't, and that doesn't mean that it won't happen or that it wasn't for you, or it may not have been for you at that time. But another practice too that I've just recently, my therapist had recommended to me was, because I was feeling like, oh, I'm not being as productive as I like to be. And he's like, reflect on your day at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And all it is for me is making a list of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
And that has really boosted my morale. Like, man, I did all that in a day. That you kind of underestimate your accomplishments. And we do that all the time to ourselves and think, no matter what we've done, we're like, oh, I should have. We always want that next. We always want the higher thing. But I think that if we are able to reflect and be like, man, look at all that I accomplished in a day. Like, imagine how much better you will feel. And so I think like you said, it doesn't have to be this long, elaborate 3-page journal entry or whatever, like just making a list,
Making
just
them.
writing out your thoughts,
Mhm.
something very simple but very necessary. Because one of the things I feel like that keeps us in a rut or keeps us from progressing is thinking that we're not producing. I think that I always say, I believe everybody is a creative. I believe that everybody was created to create in their own way.
In their
you
own.
know it may not be artistically, it might be in another way, but everyone has the gift and I think everyone thrives off of producing, like seeing something that they work towards come to life,
Yeah.
and being able to write it down and see it is so rewarding.
And also, as you were, I agree. First of all, let me just put a dot in that. I agree with everything you just said. But as you were talking, I was thinking, I was just like, you know what? That is so true. Even when you write things down and you're like, oh, it didn't come to pass. Sometimes some things have come to pass, maybe just not in the way that we thought it was going to come to pass. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a part of like that mind shift.
Mhm.
But you can only see that when you write stuff down.
Listen, listen, that is good. That
You
is
gotta
so
be
good.
really cool. So
Hmm.
yeah, that is so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's good. That is really good. So getting back to yoga, what does it take? What are the requirements to become an instructor?
Well, I guess it depends on the level. There's different, I guess, hour certifications that you can get. like I said, 40-hour, 200-hour, 300-hour, and there's like a 500-hour. And a 500-hour typically is where you are when you're starting to be able to provide the education of yoga to others.
Okay.
That's when you get into that 500-hour level. Yeah, so it's basically you go, I don't know how deep you want to get, but you kind of go through, like, I guess, like the principles of yoga, the ethical responsibility of yoga, like the 8-limb path that we just discussed a little bit. And just for the record, for anybody who's like, she didn't go through all of the yamas and niyamas, y'all know it's a lot of them. I was trying to speed up, but anyway. But yeah, so yeah, and just going through all of that, reading different texts and dialogues about yoga and meditation and the different paths, like the asana practice, learning all the different postures, the Sanskrit. So, you want to keep it to its roots, because that's one of the ethical responsibilities, is keeping it to what yoga really is. It's become really westernized since it's come over here to the US from, India and things like that. So just staying in that true essence of what yoga is for, because I know we kind of joke and people be like, oh, like yoga is just stretching. Like that's what they see for us over here on the West. Like, oh, they're over there just stretching. That's not yoga. Because like I was saying, there's like a whole energy behind yoga, not just those poses. You know what I mean? So yeah, you go through, you learn all of those different things, and it's a lot of self-study too. Like I'm in my 300-hour currently, and when I say this one has really changed my life, like just the way I just see everything, getting a little deeper into the text and just being able to kind of relate it to maybe some of the teachings that I learned through my Christianity faith, and being able to tie those together and just live my life, like we're saying, to the fullest, like living your fullest potential, the best version of myself or best version of whomever selves. It's so much. I know that's what it was to take to become a instructor, but I just can't stop talking about the benefits.
Love it. I love it.
And there's different types and different levels and all of that. And it's through a system called Yoga Alliance, is that you can get your certification through. And that's where a lot of people, some people get I guess the majority of people who are yoga instructors get their certifications through
Yoga Alliance. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you bring up how westernized it's become. And I'm not surprised, because I don't know, when you see the culture in India and just how committed they are to their practices, and their beliefs, you can't help but respect it, like even being a Christian, I can't help but like respect, because I'm not that committed to Christianity. Not saying that I'm not that committed, but
I get what you're saying.
That's something that they would take a soundbite of, like, she ain't a real Christian. But I'm not praying at a certain time every day, and like I'm not, I am, but not to the level of respect and honor that they have for what they believe. And so it only, we are very lax over here with everything that we do, I feel like. And so it makes sense that we would take something that is supposed to be so focused on energy and exactly so sacred, and just make it like, oh, we just gonna stretch and feel better, which is okay if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's good, but it's so life-changing. Why not get all the benefits?
Why not get all the benefits? Because because of that mentality again of the go. Our body, our spirit, our minds are not getting filled. I feel like they're not getting filled up, like we run on empty so much, and a lot of us reach a breaking point that can lead to things that are just not healthy, that can lead to those diseases or diseases, lead to, so many things. So I think that if we did honor it in that same way, we would get so much more out of it, and our bodies would thank us as a result, Yeah. I love that you mentioned that. You talked about how some of your students come up to you and say their experiences. How have you noticed, how has that felt as a teacher to make such an impact on people?
I'm just always grateful that it came to me for me to be able to give it to somebody else. Because I just remember there was a point that I was just so sad and so low that I didn't even know that I didn't know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I didn't even know the things I did not know. And that's scary. For me, that's a really scary place to be in because
Yeah.
it's so naive, I guess,
Yeah.
or I feel kind of dumb a little bit. It's just like, how do I not know like that I can't control nothing? What have I been thinking all this time? Like, so like the fact that I can and give that to someone else, it just grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful.
That's so good. I listen to like a lot of finance podcasts, and Earn Your Leisure is one of them. And they're always talking about like the whole point of learning this information is to teach someone else so that they can then teach someone else. And I think that that's so important that we don't keep it to ourselves. When we find something good, that we share it, especially when it's so life changing and something that can really improve your state of being. It's so, so important. What would you say to someone who is on the fence about starting yoga or just starting a new practice that is just unique to them? What would you recommend to that person?
If you're on the fence, you're gonna slip eventually, and I would suggest that you slip on the right side.
Come on. Come on.
Like blessings don't come through closed doors. Like we can't expect our life to change if we're doing the same thing. Like we gotta try new stuff. We have
Yeah.
to try it. And even if you just try it one time, to just see. It
Mhm.
might not be for you in that moment, even. Or if you tried it before, maybe it's time to try it again. You're a different person now. It's a year from now, it's a week from now, it's a month from now. You're not who you were before.
Mhm.
Something in your life has changed you in some capacity or some way. Try something new. It'll be worth it. Every time it'll be worth it. And if it's not worth it, it'll still be worth it.
Yeah. You can say you tried.
Lesson.
Yeah.
Lessons. That's how we
Mhm.
get through life, learning the lessons. Try it out. Try
Yeah.
it out.
I love that. I think our generation and generations after us are a little more open to trying new things. Whereas like I think of like my mom's generation, and I commend her because like she's starting a new business and she's learning social media even though it's like foreign to her.
That's so
But and you see a
cute.
lot of older generations trying to do that, but it's still like, this is what I do, I'm sticking with this. And I really want to encourage people that it's never too late
Mm,
to try something new.
yes.
Like there's not an age limit to trying something new, because honestly, like you can find that the way you've been doing things for so long, and it may have worked for those
And
30 years, but your situation might be different, or we are constantly evolving, and with that we should be open and willing to let in something new, because you never know how it might impact you and make a difference in your life. So
totally, totally
so
feel it.
necessary, so
So
necessary.
necessary.
Look, this was very zen. I want to go like meditate now. And no, honestly, I did today. And that's not something like I try to meditate every day. But that's not true. I have like periods where I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate every day, and I fall off. Right. And so today I did, and not even thinking about the fact that you were coming on here, which is funny. I just needed it.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's so important to listen to your body when it tells you to do those things. And as you find what works for you, then you can see where it can, okay, maybe I can do this every day, or maybe I can do this every other day, or whatever. But I think that, do you feel like there is for you, like something that you have to do every day, or like how often do you find yourself meditating and practicing yoga and things of that sort?
Well, I definitely do meditate every morning when I wake up. I pray and I meditate and I breathe. Those are the first two things I do when I wake up in the morning before I even like put my feet on the ground. I say
Mhm.
thank you, say whatever I gotta say, and then I shut up and listen to my meditation and I breathe, right?
That's good.
Um asana practices, I probably do that personally maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and then I teach twice a week. So that's kind of
When you're teaching, does it feel like practicing, or is that like a
no,
separate?
it's not. It's
Okay.
separate. It's definitely
Yeah.
separate. Because I'm not there for me. My
Right.
practice is my practice. I'm there to serve and
Yeah.
to impart that on other to other people. but yeah, I found that I needed every day that breath work. And even when I was going through like the things that were calling the yamas and niyamas, the observances and the restrictions, practicing those every day, like that nonviolence that I was talking about, the non-stealing I was talking about, all of those things, that purity coming into things, pure in action, pure in attitude, all every day, yoga every day.
That's good because that'll keep you from slapping somebody or just doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Listen, I'm telling you, like sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, I didn't even do nothing when they said that, or I didn't even respond when they said. I'm like, who am I? Like, who am
Listen,
I?
like honestly, I find myself too because I've been like focused on patience,
Yeah,
guarding your tongue,
yeah.
guarding your thought, interrupting negative thoughts, things
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
And when I find myself responding the right way, I'm like, look at me, look at
Look at
what
me.
you know.
Isn't it something when you like see it in yourself? It's just like,
Mhm, mhm, mhm. It's a good feeling, and I just want everyone to feel that feeling. I encourage everyone to find your thing, find what, keeps you at peace and brings you joy. That's
yes.
what I want for everyone because this is it's a terrible life to live without that, without that peace and without that joy.
That
So I just
ooh,
want
that's
everyone to
real. Now
have
that's real. That's you only get one of these,
come on.
and you don't want to spend it with peace. What is going on?
Honestly, and you have control over that more than you think. We think we give too much credit to our circumstances.
Mm.
Whereas if we like really take the time and the initiative to overcome, like, listen, I don't care what I'm going through. I don't care what environment I'm in. I'm going to make my peace and my joy a priority. Then it can be something that you can actually achieve. You just really,
Especially, sorry, we're not
oh,
gonna
go
keep
ahead.
going, but
Go ahead.
especially not looking outward, right? You
Yeah.
gotta look inward because you gotta find what really matters and what's really important too.
Mm.
Because you can't be looking down the timeline and trying to figure out what everybody else is doing and how to get to what they got. Like you got to figure it out for you, like what's in you, what's important to you, like what's at your core, and not somebody else's. You know what I mean?
That's so important right now because we are in a generation of comparison with social media. Like we see what everyone else has and we want to keep up with the Joneses. And that's not, a lot of times it's not even something that you truly desire. You just see them doing it and you want to flex.
It's
And
not
it's
your
like,
piece. That's not your piece. That's not yours.
come on, that's a whole word. That's a whole word. That's so good. I love that. I love that. Like we really, first of all, that is another practice that needs to be put your phone down. Phone
Yeah.
down. Because honestly, I had to do it. I had to put the screen time
Me
notification on
too.
my phone because I was like, when that came out and I saw how many hours I was on social media, I was like, no way. Like, how do I even have time for that? I'm working and like, how do I have time to be on social media this much? But you don't realize you just be scrolling.
Scrolling.
And before you know it, an hour has passed by. And I'm like, it's not healthy. It's not good because you will do it. Even if you don't think you do, subconsciously you
Yeah.
compare. We
Yeah.
all do
Because
it.
it's downloading. You're looking at it. You're seeing, just
Mm,
like we were talking about, you seeing your writing. Same thing. You seeing
mm,
all this stuff coming down the timeline. You keep looking
mm.
at it. You get fixated on it. Like, I'm not saying you can't do it. We're all human. We
Yeah.
want to see what's going on in the world, all that stuff. It's not anything bad. But when we're talking about access, that's where we want to draw back.
That part. That part. It's access. Yes. And that's what I said with these cell phones, people have way too much access to us. And we have to know when to put it down.
Yeah, because I put the summary, the new summary thing. So I don't even get the notification. It comes in a summary at 2 hours, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock when I get lunchtime and when I get off.
I love that. I love that.
Because it's too much. Because I will do it. I'll be in the middle. I'll be in a meeting sometimes and I'll pick up
Mhm.
my phone and I'll be scrolling. Mind you, they're talking. Next thing you know, Gelisa, so about that report. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't listening. Like, because I was scrolling. Why am I on my phone?
Yeah. And I've gotten caught doing that just on the phone with people. Like I was on the phone with my grandma and she said something now. Like, I'm reading Instagram. Like and you're not even giving people the time. A 20-minute phone conversation, you can't focus because you're too busy scrolling. And I
Listen,
have that
you're
habit.
not
I
being
want to be
present.
because we have that multitask, mentality, like I have to be doing something else. I can't just sit still and talk on the phone. Like I need to be doing something else too. And it's like,
No.
why are we so afraid of being still?
Because
Why?
that's when the hard work come in. That's why we already know the answer to that now. Because we're so scared that we're gonna really find out something that we don't want to find out. Because that's the only way we find out stuff about ourselves is when we quiet.
That. That's it. That's it. And I love too that you mentioned after you pray, meditate, you listen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time we complain that we don't hear from God, or you're not still. When are you gonna hear? Like you're doing all the talking. It's just you. It's a monologue.
Literally.
Stop and listen. Stop and listen. Man, this was good, Gelisa. This was such a good conversation. I could go on and on.
Listen.
This felt like a therapy session.
For you and for me.
Let me tell you. So while we're talking about social medias, why don't you share your social media handle?
Perfect segue.
People follow you, and how can they sign up for your classes? Let them know all the good stuff.
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram at 2ND Life, LIFE Wellness. So that's Second Life Wellness. Because we all have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one. All right, so that's on IG. There I just show where my classes are when I'm having classes. Like I said, I share journaling prompts monthly. Sometimes I do a monthly, sometimes I do a weekly, sometimes I do it every day. It just depends on the month and what's going on. And if you want to find me any other time or contact me for anything, you can find me at JelisaJLewis.com. So that's GELISAJLEWIS.com.
Yes, make sure you follow, you go to the website, you sign up. Do you offer any virtual classes or just in
I do. Some of my classes are virtual. The sound bath is virtual on bi-weekly on Sundays. What else is virtual? My Wednesday night class, which is Breathe, Stretch, Flow on Wednesday nights, which you'll see all this on the website or on my IG page. But that is a virtual and in studio as well.
I love it. Sign up and get to your best self, okay?
Yes, get to your best self. I'm telling you.
It's going to help you get to that second life, which is the one life. I love that.
Confucius said it. That's not my quote, y'all.
Okay.
But
it's
real. It's real.
It's so real and it's so true. Gelisa, thank you so much for being here. This was so good. I needed this conversation on today, and I thank you for being here. Make sure you follow Gelisa and all that she's doing. And until next time, I'm Renée Nicole. Have an amazing week. Thank you for watching Name a Better Duo podcast.